Ow, that hurt!
Hey everybody, it's Podpocalypse coming to you like I'm dressed to go to Sunsplash. It's a water park in Arizona. I'm reviewing the MX34 today versus the Tusk T-35 and 45. We got the MX34F, which is the front version. It's an 8100/21. And on the back we have, different than what I normally run. I usually do a 110/100. This is a 120/90/18. The reason I do this, or did this, is because courtesy of Highland Cycles, little trick you can do. Long story short, all the manufacturers don't really conform to the same standards. Don't know why that is, but the thickness of the tire and the vertical height of the tire can be different between the manufacturers, even though they have the same spec on the side, if that makes sense. I ended up just kind of measuring them this time. This tire is 1/2 inch wider than my 110/100 crossbite. That's the direct comparison that I have. The 110/100 crossbite that I have on the Sherco is so freaking skinny, and you can just feel it when you ride it. And so anyways, I recommend trying that out if you're a Dunlop enjoyer. Try the 120/90, and I think you'll like the wide version of it for single track and whatnot a lot more. Plus traction with the ground for loose terrain. Okay, so really quick, I'm going to go over the features of the tire and then we'll get into the performance. So the MX34 rear has a pretty aggressive sight pattern on the back, like your traditional motocross tires. It's got these super wide channeled scoops. Now, the tire is advertised to have a whole bunch of new stuff. It has some kind of PBCS, whatever the heck, castle block technology. Don't really know what that is. They just look like traditional lugs. However, compared to the MX33 and especially competitors like the T-35 and 45, these center lugs are super tall and holy cow are they stiff. The tire itself is super stiff. I mean, ridiculously stiff, guys. I'm understating it. I think I have 10 PSI in this thing right now. Yeah, I can't even budge it. Oh, I guess I forgot one thing. It also has the raised steps that prevent it from folding around in turns, which I really like. I've been liking that design whenever I see it on a tire. Jumping over to the front, we have your traditional kind of sandy intermediate terrain tire. It is directional, so make sure you watch out for that. You got some similar stuff going on, but alternating. You got the sight design. However, the outer ones are not sight. I really like this. Whenever the outer lugs on the front tire are sight or castle blocks or any sort of that loose terrain design, find that they crack and break a lot. And you can see on this one, there are no breaks so far. I'm about 10 hours in on this tire, I would say. Riding through the roughest, crappiest southern Utah terrain you can imagine. In fact, these are so square, it's almost unbelievable. We also got the raised edges, although way more aggressive on the front. These are way taller, way stiffer, which makes sense, right? This is the first thing to hit a turn, so it's going to be the first thing to fold. This tire is amazing at cornering. Totally amazing. It's so good, guys. On the stiffness, this is just like the back. I think I have 10 PSI in this too, and it is frozen solid. It is so freaking stiff. If you're used to riding on rocks and roots, I don't think you're gonna like that as much. I don't think you'd be buying this tire for that anyways. In terms of the softness of the lugs, very stiff. This is much closer to like Tusk Talon that Rocky Mountain recently came out with, where everything is just super stiff. I've really come to like that design. T-35, T-45, all the kind of MX tires that are on the cheap side tend to have softer knobs and they round very quickly. So I think for your initial traction, that's pretty good, but later on as the tire wears out, you begin to really notice it, especially with the T-35. Okay, so what do I think of the MX34? These are the best soft intermediate terrain tires I have ever run. So I've done the T-35. I ran that because I'm a psychopath. I ran that 3 times. I know. I was in ignorant land and I was buying all the cheapo tires just over and over again because it's what I knew. Now that I've gone to Dunlop, I don't see myself going back to those cheap tires, and I'll tell you why right now. The wear for 10 hours is so spectacular, it's kind of hard to describe. There's almost nothing. On the T-35, less so on the T-45, but on the T-35, that tire is a little bit softer and you get a bit more good early performance out of it, admittedly, for all-around riding, right? Single track, if you want to go on rocks a little bit, you can do that. It's not going to be great on rocks, but you can do a little bit of that. The big downside of the T-35 is the way that the cheap rubber rounds. It rounds so exceptionally fast. And I've heard somewhat of the same thing about the T-45, depending on who you ask. In terms of the lug pattern, the MX34 has somewhat of the castle design like the T-35, but it has the stiffness of the T-45. The Dunlop's better than both the T-35 and the T-45. Rocky Mountain has a lot of catching up to do with this new MX34 for the Tusk MX lineup, because these Dunlops, again, I'm riding through southern Utah. It's the crappiest, most silty, kind of dreaded granite for tires. It just completely melts them. The front tire, besides being dirty, it looks basically new. Like right here where it's cleaner. You can just dive into corners. It feels glued to the ground, especially if your suspension is set up. I just got my Race Tech Gold in here. So we got the gold valve set up. It's set up for desert racing style stuff for a B-Rider. I'm just glued to the ground. I think the only con of the MX34, if you're say running a IRC or Tusk gummy tire or hybrid tire, those are way more comfortable. You're gonna feel every single bump on these stiffer tires. But if you are a fast rider, and if you ride in the desert, if you're in Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, these are going to be so amazing. For mountainous terrain, it depends. If it's loose single track with lots of rocks, probably they'll be okay. Honestly, don't know what to recommend for that because I don't really ride it a lot. But here in the 3K high desert elevation, best tires I've ever ran. So freaking good. And the longevity, I cannot speak enough to that. So other than the price point, 200 bucks, it's a lot for tires, but you're going to get, I would say, 2 to 3 times the life compared to a T-35 or a T-45. Do with that what you will. The T-35 and 45 are not bad tires. So with that, I'll see you next time.
Oh yeah, that was pretty soft there. So far, so good. Woo-hoo-hoo! Holy crap! Woo-hoo-hoo! This front tire is like cutting through butter. All right. Moment of truth. Here we go. Come on, baby. Got a little squirrely there, but we made it. I like the front tire on this so much, and I knew I would. I like the stiffer Talon. The Talon has less knobs though, and less siping. And is it Chinese? I think it is Chinese. Maybe we can do this send it ascent. Oh yeah. That is so deceivingly loose. Look at all that dust. I don't know if you saw my tire track going up from that first track. I can't talk. Woo! I'm all sideways. All right, let's do a jump on these. See how they soak up the jump. Okay, going in. Woo! Yeah, baby. How's the braking? Okay, I'm going. I gotta brake. Oh yeah, it's so good, guys. Good bit of single track testing here. Ah! Trail's got. Whoa. Whoa. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap it up there for my initial impressions.